From the moment we're born, we're quietly ushered into a belief system that tells us happiness is something we can buy. It begins subtly, ads disguised as cartoons, praise for the child with the newest toy, admiration for those who have it all. We learn early that the path to fulfillment is paved with possessions, a better phone, a nicer car, a bigger house. And so we chase, we study, we work, we save, we spend, believing that once we finally have enough, we'll feel whole. But what no one tells us is that this version of happiness is an illusion, a moving target that always stays just out of reach. The joy of a new purchase is real but fleeting. It fades the moment something newer, shinier, or trendier appears. This illusion is not harmless. It keeps us running in circles, measuring our worth by what we own rather than who we are. We compare ourselves to others, scrolling endlessly through curated lives on social media, feeling small because we lack what they show. Slowly, without realizing it, we begin to equate love with luxury, confidence with brands, peace with financial status. But none of it lasts. The truth is, no object can fill a spiritual or emotional void. No item can replace the quiet sense of being enough just as we are. To break free, we must first name the lie that things can save us. Then we must ask harder questions. What really makes us feel alive? Loved? Fulfilled? The answers will rarely come in a shopping cart. Real happiness is rooted not in accumulation, but in connection, in choosing to live intentionally, in valuing moments over materials, and in remembering that we were never meant to be defined by what we own. Consumerism isn't loud. It's quiet, calculated, and deeply embedded in the way we live. It doesn't knock on your door. It lives in your phone, your commute, your favorite TV show. It disguises itself as normal, natural, even necessary. We rarely stop to question it because the world around us is built to reinforce it. Cities are designed for shopping, not reflection. Ads slip into every corner of our attention, from gas station pumps to social media scrolls, reminding us of what we're missing, what we need to feel complete. It becomes the background noise of modern life, so constant that silence feels uncomfortable. This domination isn't about force, it's about subtle persuasion. We're not just consumers by habit, we've been shaped to believe that that's who we are. Entertainment pushes product placements, influencers market lifestyles, and even moments of rest, like weekends or vacations, are framed around buying or spending. It's a culture that conditions us to seek relief not through inner peace, but through another transaction. And the emotional cost is heavy. Because when we accept this system as truth, we begin to confuse desire with identity. We mistake cravings for purpose. We stop asking, "Do I want this?" and start wondering, "Will this make me enough?" That's the power of consumer culture. It doesn't just influence what we buy, it rewires how we think, how we feel, and ultimately, how we live. To see through it, we must learn to question the normal it has taught us and dare to imagine a slower, quieter, more conscious way of being. Desire in the modern world has become a trap disguised as freedom. We're told that wanting more is natural, that progress means upgrading, and that the next thing, a newer phone, a better car, a trendier lifestyle, will finally bring the joy we're searching for. And for a brief moment, it often does. The purchase brings a high, a sense of control, a thrill of reward. But it's short-lived. The object that once felt like the key to happiness quickly fades into the background, replaced by the next promise. This is the heart of the modern paradox. The more we acquire, the less we value what we have. We live in a loop of anticipation and disappointment, always reaching, never arriving, and the system depends on it. The economy of consumption isn't built to fulfill us. It's built to keep us restless. It feeds off our insecurity, our need to feel significant, desirable, and in control. But it leaves behind a quiet hollowness, a feeling we can't name. That ache we feel isn't failure, it's fatigue. It's the soul's exhaustion from chasing something that was never meant to satisfy us. And yet we continue, not because we're weak, but because we've been taught that the next thing will be different. It never is. What we long for cannot be boxed, sold, or delivered in 2 days. It lives in stillness, in connection, in meaning. And to access it, we must first be brave enough to step outside the cycle and ask ourselves if the chase was ever worth it. In the pursuit of a comfortable lifestyle, most people unknowingly trade away the one thing they can never get back: time. We wake up early, sit in traffic, clock in, grind through long hours, then return home too exhausted to truly live. All of it in service of maintaining an image of success, a home we barely enjoy, subscriptions we barely use, and objects we thought would make us feel alive. This has become the rhythm of modern life. Work to earn, spend to feel, and repeat. It's a cycle that drains our days while disguising itself as purpose. But the truth is sobering. We're sacrificing the most precious parts of life: presence, creativity, connection, for the illusion of stability. A lifestyle sold to us as fulfilling often leaves us disconnected and depleted. Weekends become bandages, not recovery. Even rest becomes a performance. Brunches, shopping sprees, treating ourselves as a way to numb the quiet voice that asks, "Is this really living?" Our culture rarely encourages us to pause and reflect. Instead, it pushes us to keep moving, consuming, producing, until years have passed and we can't remember what we were chasing in the first place. The price of modern comfort is often our aliveness. And while money can buy conveniences, it cannot buy back moments missed with loved ones, or the serenity of a slow morning with nothing to prove. To reclaim our time, we must first realize its worth. Only then can we begin to ask a better question. What kind of life is truly worth working for? Modern life often feels like a race with no finish line. We're told that if we just reach one milestone, get the degree, land the job, buy the house, we'll finally be able to rest. But as soon as we arrive, the bar moves. A starter home isn't enough. We need something bigger, in a better neighborhood. A reliable car becomes outdated. We crave one with more features, more status. Even our appearance and social presence are subject to constant scrutiny. Never quite polished enough, never quite done. The goalpost keeps shifting, and we keep running, believing that the next upgrade will grant us peace. But peace never arrives, not in this system, because the system isn't built to reward arrival. It's built to keep us striving. There's always a new standard, a new comparison, a new better that makes what we have feel insufficient. And in the pursuit of more, we lose sight of enough. We lose the ability to feel satisfied, not because we're ungrateful, but because we've been conditioned to believe that stopping means failure. Emotionally, this wears us down. We live with the constant pressure to improve, perform, and compete, not for growth, but for approval. And that approval is always temporary. The truth is, chasing a moving target will never lead to rest. What if the key isn't running faster, but stepping off the track altogether? What if real freedom comes from redefining success, not as accumulation, but as alignment with what truly matters? At the heart of modern consumption lies a haunting truth. The void we try to fill with material things is not caused by what we lack, but by what we've lost touch with. We keep reaching for objects to silence an ache we can't quite name, hoping that the next item, the designer bag, the new car, the sleek gadget, will finally make us feel whole. But it never does, because the emptiness isn't material. It's emotional, it's spiritual. And no product, no matter how expensive or advanced, can fill a void that was never physical to begin with. This emptiness often comes from disconnection from meaning, from purpose, from ourselves. In a world that tells us we are what we own, we begin to forget who we are without the labels, the logos, the curated image. We stop asking deeper questions. What do I value? What gives my life depth? And instead settle for shallow comforts that quickly fade. It's not wrong to enjoy beautiful things. Comfort is not the enemy. But the trap lies in the belief that those things can replace something sacred. The experience of being fully present, fully alive. The moments of awe, of real human connection, of quiet self-understanding, those cannot be bought. They must be lived. To escape the trap, we have to stop chasing and start listening to the silence underneath the craving. That's where we find the truth. What we're searching for isn't more stuff. It's meaning. And that begins not in a store, but within. There was a time when objects held stories. A jacket passed down from a father, a table handcrafted by a neighbor, a set of tools worn smooth by decades of use. These things weren't just possessions, they were companions in daily life, tied to memory, care, and craftsmanship. But today, in a culture built on speed and convenience, that relationship has unraveled. Most of what surrounds us is mass-produced, designed not to last, but to be replaced. Planned obsolescence has become the norm. Objects no longer age with us, they expire. This loss has deeper consequences than we realize. When everything is disposable, we start to treat the world and even ourselves the same way. We don't fix what's broken. We toss it out and scroll for the next best thing. Furniture is made from cheap materials. Electronics are designed to fail. Clothes fall apart after a season. And slowly, without noticing, we stop forming attachments to the things in our lives. Emotionally, this disconnection weakens our sense of continuity. There's no story in what we own, no bond that reminds us of who we are or where we've been. We're left surrounded by objects, but untouched by meaning. In a world where everything is replaceable, nothing feels sacred. To reclaim value, we must remember that objects aren't meant to impress. They're meant to serve, to endure, to reflect the lives we build around them. When we care for what we have, we begin to reconnect with a slower, more intentional rhythm of living, one rooted not in trends but in trust. In today's world, patience has become almost obsolete. We live in an age of instant gratification, where food arrives with a tap, entertainment streams without delay, and next-day delivery is an expectation, not a luxury. Everything is optimized to be faster, easier, more convenient. But with this speed, we've lost something essential: the ability to wait, to savor, to find meaning in the process rather than just the outcome. We've forgotten how to enjoy the slow unfolding of time, the richness that comes from anticipation and effort. This shift isn't just about convenience. It's reshaping our minds and our hearts. When we grow used to receiving everything immediately, we become intolerant of slowness, of silence, of depth. We skip the steps, rush the moments, and overlook the subtle beauty that only reveals itself with time. Creativity suffers, relationships grow shallow, experiences blur together, and life begins to feel like a blur of transactions rather than a journey of connection. Emotionally, this constant urgency leaves us anxious and unsatisfied. We want the result, but not the process. We crave novelty, but not depth. But the truth is, some of the most meaningful things in life, trust, growth, wisdom, love, can't be rushed. They require presence, intention, and time. To reclaim our inner peace, we must learn to slow down, to resist the urge for instant reward. Because sometimes the most profound fulfillment doesn't come from getting what we want right away, but from growing into it patiently, one moment at a time. There was once a quiet dignity in working with our hands, a rhythm, a patience, a deep sense of connection to the physical world. Craftsmanship wasn't just a trade, it was a language of care. Whether shaping wood, stitching fabric, molding clay, or forging metal, the act of creation rooted people in time and space. It taught discipline, rewarded effort, and reminded us that beauty could emerge slowly through skill and devotion. But in today's hyper-digital, efficiency-obsessed society, manual labor has been pushed to the margins, often seen as outdated or inferior. Modern education prizes intellectual output and screen-based productivity. Young people are taught to aspire to office jobs, coding careers, or digital entrepreneurship, while traditional crafts are quietly fading into obscurity. The result? A culture disconnected not just from things, but from the very process of making. We don't know how to build, how to mend, how to repair. We simply replace, we consume, but we no longer create. Emotionally, this detachment leaves us ungrounded. When our hands no longer engage with the world, our sense of agency erodes. We become passive users instead of active participants. But in the past, creating with one's hands gave people a sense of pride and presence. The object made wasn't just functional, it was infused with time, memory, and care. To restore meaning, we must rediscover the value of doing things slowly and skillfully. Because sometimes shaping the world with our hands is how we remember our place within it, and how we begin to feel human again. Once, eating was a ritual. A shared meal carried stories, laughter, and love. Food was prepared with intention, using ingredients that were known, touched, and respected. But in today's fast-paced world, even this most basic human act has been stripped of its meaning. Meals have been reduced to products, fast, efficient, and convenient. Processed foods dominate grocery shelves, microwaves replace stovetops, and drive-thrus become dining rooms. We no longer eat to connect or nourish. We eat to fill space, to save time, to keep going. The act has become mechanical, the pleasure muted. The same has happened with leisure. Instead of experiences that foster creativity, connection, or presence, we turn to screens, scrolling, binge-watching, numbing. Entertainment is no longer something we participate in. It's something that happens to us. It requires no effort, no imagination, no engagement with the physical world. And while it may offer brief distraction, it rarely brings true rest. This industrialization of both food and play reflects a deeper problem. We've traded meaning for efficiency. In doing so, we've lost the textures, flavors, and feelings that make life rich. We've replaced tradition with transaction, and presence with passive consumption. To reconnect, we must slow down, cook something from scratch, share a meal without phones. Choose a hobby that uses your hands, your body, your curiosity. Real nourishment, both physical and emotional, can't be rushed. It comes from participation, from care, and from giving time to what truly feeds the soul. We are surrounded by more than any generation in history. More products, more technology, more information, more comfort. And yet beneath this surface of abundance lies a silent epidemic, emotional emptiness. Anxiety and depression continue to rise, even as our access to goods and services grows. This is the paradox of modern life. How can we have so much and still feel so lost? The answer is unsettling but clear. We've mistaken accumulation for connection and consumption for meaning. We've built lives filled with things but starved of depth. We scroll endlessly, binge endlessly, spend endlessly, and still feel hollow. Why bhakti? Because no amount of material wealth can substitute for the emotional nourishment of presence, purpose, or human intimacy. The ache we feel is not for another item. It's for something real, something lasting. This disconnect wears on the spirit. We fill our homes but neglect our hearts. We reach for dopamine instead of direction. We don't lack entertainment. We lack engagement. Not with products, but with ourselves, with others, with life. And the more we consume, the more we forget how to truly experience. To break this paradox, we must reorient our lives around what matters, not what's marketed. Joy isn't found in having everything. It's found in noticing, in choosing deliberately, in living meaningfully. Abundance, when untethered from meaning, becomes noise. But when aligned with purpose, it becomes richness. The real crisis isn't scarcity. It's forgetting how to value what already surrounds us. In a world that glorifies speed, status, and accumulation, the most radical act may be to slow down and ask, what truly matters to me? The core message of this video reminds us that real fulfillment doesn't come from owning more, but from living more consciously. It invites us to step off the treadmill of endless desire and reclaim our time, attention, and emotional well-being. We don't have to reject material things, but we must stop believing they define our worth. Value isn't in quantity, it's in the quality of how we live, love, create, and connect. Choose craftsmanship over convenience, presence over performance, depth over distraction. Relearning how to enjoy slow meals, repair old things, nurture relationships, and find joy in simplicity can transform how we experience life. The lesson is simple, yet profound. Meaning is not found in what's new or expensive. It's found in what we choose to value. When we break free from the illusion that more is better, we begin to rediscover what it means to feel whole, without needing anything more than what's already here. That shift isn't just personal, it's revolutionary.